And what's up, guys? We're back to another live weather update right now. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about the, well, we're really going to be just talking about the freezing rain. 1 second, I got to fix something here. Oops. My, graphics are acting a little weird right now. 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. Sometimes my sponsor graphics don't always present themselves, so I have to like reset it, and I forgot to do it before this. I've just been so extremely busy. And I just did it again. One second, guys, sorry. I thought I had this already updated on my stuff. Oops. Okay. Nope, that shouldn't be on there either. Okay, that should be good now. Okay. Alright, let's jump back into it. So, large area of winter weather advisories all the way from portions of Oklahoma to Kansas, across the upper Midwest, and then we have the ice storm warnings here across portions of West Virginia, and portions of Pennsylvania as well. What very interesting is that this morning we already seen multiple accidents around the Kansas City metro area today due to freezing rain across this area. This morning temperatures were below, I think, 30 degrees at the time, but I'm pretty sure they lifted a little bit now. I'll go ahead and check that meter readings. So temperatures in the area were 31, 30 degrees, a little bit some 29s mixing in, but I'm pretty sure it was cooler this morning, early this morning, because they did have some freezing rain and some icing on some of the roadways across this Kansas City metro areas. They are still underneath the winter weather advisory, where they were supposed to get ice accumulations up to 1/10 of an inch as possible until 6 p.m. this evening. Due to the temperatures rising until around the 31 degree mark, it's not going to be as bad unless there's already a coating of ice on some of those roadways. It's just adding fuel to fire at this point. But early this morning did have some accidents, multi-car accidents on all the interstates, obviously, underestimating the light freezing rain moving across the area. And like I said, any temperatures that are underneath 29 degrees or lower, you're going to get substantial icing on some of these roadways, and people just they don't pay attention to that. Just like here across portions of Illinois. Let me put this into play here. We got a banding of snow here to the north, but there is some dry air mixing in and out over here, so some of this precipitation is not even making its way down to the ground yet, but as there's more moisture being pulled to the north here, as the system's pushing off west to east, there is also easterly winds here pushing that warm air back, where the warm air is not evading that far north, which is good. There's easterly winds at like 20 to 30 miles an hour in some open areas across northern Indiana. That is keeping some of the surface temperatures cooler at the surface, and those pavement surface temperatures are also below freezing as well. So it's that allow some of that light freezing rain to instantly freeze on contact, especially on untreated roadways. So there is a little bit of some freezing rain there around the St. Louis metro area currently right now, some precipitation there. You see there's convective showers here firing, right? So there's some warm air down here, but the temperatures down here are still around the freezing mark. And as you go more further north, see these temperatures up here, I'm more worried about 29 degrees in there, mixing in with some 30s. There's some convective freezing rain here, right here on this line here, pushing northeast, kind of going like this. And that's eventually going to make its way into portions of central and eastern Illinois going into this late afternoon, evening hours, and even into portions of western central Indiana. That's what I'm currently looking at here. You can see it's even showing up on the Lincoln radar as well. But since the beams are kind of in different spots, it's not picking up the precipitation very well on radar Omega. It does pick it up very well on radar scope. But like I said, some of these temperatures across this area, across northern Indiana right now, is already preset in the game. Well, you can already see around here across the South Bend area, it's about 26 degrees with a 15 dew point. Winds gusting up to 13 or 15 miles an hour at this point, and easterly winds. So it's definitely some cool air fighting against the lake, because there is, since we have easterly winds right here, lake air is being pushed this way. It's not getting pushed east into portions of southwest Michigan or northern Indiana. So this should help more enhanced cooling at the surface here. So like I said, I'm really watching this stretch here from basically Toledo, Ohio, all the way to the South Bend area here along the Indiana Turnpike there, which is 80-90 corridor, and also some of these side highways like 33 going into Fort Wayne area. You got Jamestown, the 69 corridor there going all the way up into Coldwater area. These corridors here I'm really watching in particular because our surface temperatures are right now below 27 degrees, and there is still some precipitation here falling. And some of this, once the warmer air at the lower levels makes its end up coming up further north, this light snow could transition into freezing rain. And that's going to create some big time headaches if our temperatures up here are still 25, 26 degrees. So I'm probably going to start heading over to South Bend at this point, and I'll probably station myself somewhere over here across this area in South Bend, because they are going to have a ton of headache when this freezing rain does come up across this area. And they even have winter weather advisories here going to portions of central Michigan now. They just issue new winter weather advisories up here, talking about light glaze to 0.05 of an inch expected. So it's about 0.05 inch accumulation of freezing rain, meaning a light glaze up to 1/10 of an inch. So if we even get up 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain on the 94 corridor up here, this is going to be bad. This is going to be 20s throughout the remaining of the night and also into this afternoon. So expecting that the freezing rain is going to push this further north just means that the European model was originally right on its original runs. So look how much, freezing rain advisories and ice storm warnings off to the East Coast. This is a large portion of the central portions of the U.S. and upper Midwest. Don't underestimate this. You see freezing rain and you're checking your car temperature, you're underneath 30 degrees and you're at 29, 28, 27 degrees, you gotta slow down, because I'm telling you, if you go onto these side roads, they're not going to be treated 100%. You're gonna slide off the road. And I know Michigan very well. They do not treat some of these side roads, especially 12. 12 they don't treat all the time. You got what is that, 89? All these roads over here, these side roads, these side highways, they don't really treat very well across Michigan, but they will treat 94, they will treat the Indiana Northern Turnpike, 196, but you're still going to get some slick spots, and, I can't roll out the chances of, semis jackknifing, vehicles sliding off the roads there, over speeding and overconfident and driving in rain because they never seen freezing rain or don't know what to look for. So like I said, just be very careful when you're driving on these roadways late this evening into the overnight hours, because now I'm worried that they are now issuing new advisories here across portions of central Michigan where light glaze up to 0.05 of an inch expected. That's enough with temperatures already in the lower 20s up there across that area to cause substantial icing on the roadways, because you only need this much of a glaze of ice on the roadways to cause significant hazard issues, just like they had in Kansas City, Missouri this morning. All they had was this much of a coating of ice on the roadways and interstates, and everyone was sliding off the roads. They had so many interstates shut down this morning. So like I said, just be very careful if you guys are driving out on these roadways. Like I said, the main area I'm concerned about because of how cool the temperatures are, you can see right here, there's 20-degree temperatures just like this, right? So it's something like this. I'm worried about this area here. Any freezing rain that gets in this area right here is going to have very substantial impacts, and that's including the northern Indiana Turnpike area and along the 69 corridor meet there across northeast Indiana. So we're going to be jumping on a road here pretty soon. We're going to be heading east. I'll bring you guys live weather updates throughout much of the evening and afternoon hours, but it's potentially could be very bad out there later on this overnight hours because people can slide off the roads. So stay tuned, be safe. Before I actually go, I actually want to show you guys some of the forecast models real quick. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to go over here to the European model. I like using the European model most of the time, but something's different this morning. So the European model keeps those colder temperatures Michigan side and Indiana border side. So let's go over here to freezing rain. So the newest European model showing more freezing rain towards the same areas, but it's came down on its accumulation, obviously, because it was really high up. So it's showing some heavier bursts of accumulation of freezing rain towards Ohio, northern Ohio, or northeast Indiana. So that's why we're going to be heading towards that way. But that's showing basically starting this evening into the overnight hours. Comparing that to the GFS model. GFS model is still in a similar predicament. And then we go over to the Canadian model, all showing some higher accumulations of freezing rain towards maybe northeast Indiana or central portions of Ohio. So my assumption is I can either go for central eastern Indiana into portions of west central Ohio, but I still want to be somewhere where the colder temperatures are while freezing rain's falling, because it's the only way stuff is going to freeze on contact. And I'm going out there for capturing this stuff, so it's bad for you guys what I'm mentioning, but good for me. Here's the NDFD forecast model just updated. And I like using the NDFD forecast model, obviously. So it shows by this evening same areas that the other models are mentioning. So those major interstate corridors are basically the Fort Wayne area is going to get impacted very well. So I'm worried about Fort Wayne into Algola area. So I might head over to the Fort Wayne area because they could be picking up some decent icing. But we also have to watch those surface temperatures. Like I said, the surface temperatures determine who's going to see the better outcome of icing at this point. So surface temperatures around Fort right now, 27 degrees, 25 degrees in Angola. So it just is, it's to be determined at this point. But we'll know here shortly. We'll be heading east here after this update. Let's go over to her model. Her model's been very interesting this morning, kind of playing a catch-up game. But it is now showing, finally, heavier convective freezing rain precipitation totals now going into portions of Ohio and northern northeast Indiana. So that could be an issue. And all it takes is that one light freezing rain shower to go over the area, and temperatures are 25 degrees and everything turns into a headache. So what is it really showing here? So it shows freezing rain coming around 4 or 5 p.m. Shows it developing right there, heavily convective too, pushing into portions of northern Indiana, Ohio, and then also into Michigan. So that heavy stuff we really don't want. Well, I don't want it. You guys are still going to get it across west central Ohio either way. But I'm watching this burst here. But then we also have to compare the surface temperature as well. So let's go over to surface temperature and see what we're looking at while it's thinking that's fallen. So showing surface temperatures right there across northeast Indiana, right there on the Ohio Turnpike, the northern Indiana Turnpike that goes into northern Ohio is still 27 degrees right there. So you can see we're at colder air is still sitting there. I have to be in the colder air temperatures right there to get the substantial icing. These temperatures, 33, 32 degrees, are just not going to be significant for significant icing accumulation on the ground. You want these 20s, you want these upper 20s down here. So we'll see where those upper 20 lines set up at later on as we're traveling east, and we'll just go from there. But I think we're going to see a ton of accidents if the upper 20s are still there, because what's very interesting, here's the current HER model, right? The time right now is 11 a.m. So let's go over to 11 a.m. This is what it's predicting temperatures right now. So it's showing that it's 28 degrees near the South Bend area. It's showing it's 30 degrees right here in Will County. So let's go over and see what the actual temperatures are showing. Is it correct? So the HER model is saying it is. HER model is basically saying it is 30 degrees right here across Will County. It's 29 degrees. It's 29 degrees and 28 degrees there. You can see there's 28 degrees. Chicagoland air is 28 degrees. Now we go over to the HER model here showing it's about right, maybe a degree off, but it's showing 28s and 27s right now at the current time across northern Indiana, 32 degrees across central Indiana. So let's see how accurate it is. Let's go down here to central Indiana. So it's 28s, and it looks like there's some 28s and 29s mixing into Coma, or how do you pronounce that town? So HER model is showing 30 degrees. So it's showing much colder air mass in place, about 3 degrees difference colder than what it's actually showing the HER model across portions of northern Indiana. So that's meaning that that you're going to be seeing more possibly substantial icing accumulation on the ground. Not saying you're going to see a quarter inch or half an inch icing, just meaning that the temperatures are cold enough to support light freezing rain hitting the ground, instant freeze on, bam, people are in a ditch. So we just have to watch the surface temperatures. You guys can watch the surface temperatures as well. If you have freezing rain falling in your area and your temperatures are 29 degrees or below, likely there's stuff going to be freezing on the ground. And if you have a detector to read the ground temperature as well, the pavement temperature, go ahead and post those in the comments in your current location area. I'm a little curious what it is, because it is below freezing in South Bend all the way to Angola. So other than that, this concludes this forecast. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and stay safe out there.